So real property, what's real estate versus real property? So real estate is just your actual property, whereas real property contains the bundle of rights. The bundle of rights. So real property includes your bundle of rights. So that's really what you, and it also, real property includes your surface rights. When you buy land, guys, not only are you buying the surface, you're buying the airspace as far as you can see, okay? And you're also buying your subsurface rights. What the heck are those? Well, if there's any minerals or gold or oil or whatever, anything found below the surface, all the way down to the core of the earth, belongs to you as well. So again, when you buy real property, you're buying the surface, you're buying the air rights, and you're buying the subsurface rights. Now, if there are any improvements on the land, you're getting that as well. So that's really, really important to know that if there's any structure built upon the land, they call those improvements. It could be a shack. It could be a silo. It could be a beautiful mansion. It could be your everyday normal house. I don't know, and I don't care. If there's an improvement upon it and you've purchased the land, you're getting the improvement with it. Okay, now fixtures. I gotta tell you something. Fixtures are confusing. Fixtures are confusing. I'm gonna tell you why. Because fixtures used to be personal property, but are now real property. And like, I remember when I got in real estate, I thought fixtures, oh, they're your lights, you know, your ceiling fans right here. They are, you know, your normal everyday just fixtures are what you think of, but fixtures are actually a lot. There's a lot more to fixtures than you realize. So for example, once upon a time, the house that you're sitting in right now, okay, didn't used to be there. Okay, it was just raw land, and with the raw land comes, you know, trees and everything else. And someone came along and cleared that land. Okay. Now, what happened is they went to their local Home Depot. Of course, you know, I'm making that part up. They went to their local Home Depot or Lowe's, and they bought drywall, and they bought glass, and they bought 2x4s, and they bought cinder blocks, right? And they bought Gorilla Glue to hold it all together, right? No, of course not, but you get what my point is. Now, when they went to their local Home Depot or the Lowe's or whatever hardware store they went to, and that 2x4s and the glass and the cinder blocks and all of that was personal property while it was in the actual store. Can you guys hold on 2 seconds? So there it is. It used to be personal property, is now real property. So that drywall, I mean, would you consider drywall to be a fixture? It is. Drywall is a fixture, right? The trim around the windows, right? The trim around the doors, your door frames, your doorknobs, all of those are fixtures. So what does that mean? It means that once the developer delivered it to the land, it was still personal property, but then they attached it all together and started, you know, putting it together and making this structure. It became a fixture. Now, why the heck does that matter, do you say? Like, why do we need to know all that? Because in real life, this is where your fights become. People fight over drywall. People fight over all kinds of nonsense. I have literally had people take doorknobs. They've taken blinds. They've taken trim. They've taken just grass. I mean, I'm not joking. They take grass. People take grass. People take everything. They just, I don't know, these sellers. And again, it's because their agent didn't educate them, which really frustrates me, which is, again, one of the reasons why I teach this class, because it's very, very important that we educate the client so that we raise our professional level and people stop comparing us to used car salespeople, right? And stop thinking of us in bad ways. And the ones who bring us down are the ones who don't set the expectations and don't educate their clients. So we have to take the time to explain this. And how do I do that, you might ask? Well, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, let's walk through each and every room. What will be staying and what will be going? Well, I was thinking about taking the ceiling fan. What do you think? No, I do not think you should take the ceiling fan. I think you should leave the ceiling fan there. Now, if you would like to replace it for something new and modern, that would be fantastic because it'll increase your value, the desirability of the house. Will you get a higher appraisal value? No, you will not. But in the eyes of the buyer, they're willing to pay faster, right? They're willing to pay more and they will buy faster a house that is up to date. Okay. So with that in mind, you can't take the ceiling fan unless you're going to take it down now and replace it with something else. Okay. So when you're walking around room to room with sellers, you will then learn the stuff that they're thinking of taking and they're not. And you can have this discussion up front versus on settlement day. And it'll reduce everybody's level of stress and reduce the fightings and reduce the courts from being overfilled with this nonsense. And if you seriously look at any courthouse across America, Monday through Friday, there's court cases going on about this nonsense right here, no joke. And you and I have the power to change that. Now, would we 100% have the power? No, because there will be times where sellers will take things that they didn't tell us they were going to take or whatever. So you can't change it 100%, but you could reduce it significantly. And so that's my request to you as an upcoming agent to please make sure that you have these discussions. What is personal property and what is not personal property, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller? This is supposed to stay. No, this is supposed to go. Okay. Now, if it were to go to court, what would a judge say? The first thing that the judge is going to look at is the agreement. What does the sales contract say? Does the sales contract say that it's supposed to stay or it's supposed to go? Did it say there was a ceiling fan there? Did it say that all the solar lights in the front yard are staying, right? They're conveying with the property. Well, if it says that, the judge is obviously going to follow the contract. Well, sorry, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller. In the contract you signed, it says you're leaving all the solar lights and now you took them all. So now you're going to have to pay the buyer the damages, which, by the way, is always significantly higher than what it would have been to just leave the freaking lights there to begin with. That's just why I tell sellers it's not worth it. Trust me. Those little dollar solar lights that you have out there, maybe you paid $2 or $3 a piece. I'm going to tell you they're going to turn into $20, $30, $40, $50 solar lights by the time you get to court. It's just not worth it. Okay. So if you signed an agreement, you must follow the agreement. And this is, again, where real estate agents don't do their job and explain to their clients what they're signing. Okay. So for example, if I see the fixtures paragraph, I focus on that. Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, please take a look at paragraph 10. Let's go through this together. Is there anything here that is not right? Do you have a wood burning stove, or, do you, whatever, all of, is there you're leaving the refrigerator, right? You're leaving, it has an ice maker, right? You're leaving the garage moats, right? Oh, you don't have garage. All right. So let's check. Let's mark that off. Okay. So the agreement really matters. Now, let's say it's not written in the agreement. It's just not there. The judge says, all right, well, I don't have an agreement to go upon. Let me look at the next way to determine whether this item should stay or go. The method of attachment. Okay. How severe is it attached? So, for example, think about a window and you have the trim around the window. Okay. If I take the trim down, right, it's going to look ugly. It's not going to be really functional. You can make it look okay. You really could, but it's not the same. Especially if so this one happens all the time. Most people don't take window trim, but they take door trim all the time. And I'm going to tell you why. Because they mark all their kids' growth. And then they want to take it with them. Because hey, it's got like, 20 years of, little Susie growing. Okay, I got to take this with me. And I'm like, ooh, this is bad. Okay, don't do that, people. I tell every last one of my buyers with kids young kids to make sure that they buy sticks and just attach them to the wall so you can take them with you. You don't have to take down door trim. Stop using door trim. Okay, but they do all the time, and it's unfortunate because it sucks because then they can't take it with them. But this happens all the time where they will take it with them. They just take it off the wall. Now, if I take the trim around the door now doesn't, like if I take the trim down, there's jagged drywall. The door doesn't function well anymore. So that's a clear and obvious sign that it was supposed to stay. So in other words, if I take something down and there's something damaged behind it, it is a sign that it was supposed to stay. That's why for some reason, the real estate a couple years ago decided that wall-mounted TVs, the TV is personal, but the actual hardware to hold it to the wall is not. Which is strange because there's people that put these frames in very strange places, and now the buyer comes in and just has a frame in a weird place that they don't even want anyway. And then the person who took the TV doesn't have the frame for the TVs. I don't know who thought that one through, but okay. So that's what it is. Sellers are not allowed to take down their TV frames, but they can take the TV, but the frame has to stay. The frame became a fixture because it was attached to the wall. Why? I know why they came up with this. It's because when they take it down, there's damage behind the wall. And we were all having so much problems with new buyers coming in, and then there's damaged wall. And they're like, wait a minute, I don't want to buy this house with all this damage, right? And I get it. So if you're taking something down and you're damaging things, it's a pretty good indication that it should have stayed and that a judge will classify it as a fixture, which means the seller will lose and have to pay.